Welcome to tonight's regular select board meeting. It is Tuesday, July 14th. We're going to begin by going into executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, Purpose 3, for the purpose of discussing litigation strategy related to a claim by Anthony Buono, Alec Lebovitz, Jocelyn Murphy, Richard Murphy, and Danelle Sean O'Neill Sr. seeking reimbursement for attorney's fees following an investigation into potential violations of town policies and state laws. And we will also be potentially voting on executive session meeting minutes from May 19th, 2026 and June 30th, 2026. Once we conclude executive session, we will come back into open session. So, Bernard,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
and I also vote yes.
Recording.
Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for your patience with our executive session. We will now move to our next item, which is announcements and updates. Does anyone have an announcement or update to make? Amanda?
Yeah, I had a little bit of a statement I wanted to read. I want to start tonight on a bit of a sad note. Late last week, Louisa Gagg, a 36-year-old transportation and bike share planner working for the city of Boston, tragically lost her life when a truck driver struck her on her morning bike commute, just around the corner from us in Mission Hill. This is a terrible loss of a true public servant who spent her career making the road safer for residents and commuters. My heart goes out to all of Louisa's family, friends, and colleagues. May her memory be a blessing to us all. Many have noted that the stretch of Tremont Street where Louisa was killed is known to be a mother of two girls. Diva Carvalho was killed while walking on Tremont Street only 2 blocks away in 2024. Hearing this brings to mind many streets and intersections in Brookline where we read about near misses and people sent to the hospital every month. Brookline has itself seen 2 fatalities in the last 5 years, Patty Arellano and Margie Mendez, who have died while crossing the street in Brookline at intersections that remain unchanged to this day. We know the dangerous stretches of roads in Brookline. We also know, because other communities have succeeded where we have not, that preventing death and serious injuries is within our reach, but we continue to struggle to put action to our Vision Zero goals. The corner where Louisa passed away had the same kind of paint-only, disappearing at intersection bike lanes that we have seen throughout much of Brookline, and that my family bikes on every day. Safe infrastructure, from protected bike lanes to pedestrian islands to traffic calming, saves lives. If we have any hope at meeting the Vision Zero goals the Select Board adopted in April 2025, we need to approach changes on our high priority network with urgency, commitment, and dollars. I will add my voice now, and once again when we start the discussion of CIP planning, that we need to move quickly on safety improvements if we want to avoid more tragedy. For those interested, the Massachusetts Vision Zero Coalition is organizing a vigil honoring the life of Louisa Gagg and calling for immediate urgent action to create safer streets for all. This Thursday, July 16th, gathering at 5:30 p.m. at the Boston City Hall Plaza, 1 City Hall Square. Thanks.
Bernard?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for that, Amanda. There's been a lot of interest, and this is related to that in a way. There's been a lot of interest in the Gateway East bus lane pilot, which covers Boylston at Washington Street and continuing to the town line. The Transportation Board meeting on Wednesday, starting at 6:30, includes on its agenda, which is scheduled for 7:40, a discussion and action on the Gateway East bus lane pilot recommendations. You can go to the Transportation Board's webpage for the meeting materials, including recommendations that will be voted by the Transportation Board. Just for our information, once the Transportation Board acts on the recommendations, the Select Board will be asked to approve an updated traffic control agreement with Mass DOT and a memorandum of understanding with the MBTA. I mention that as relevant to Amanda's statement because the bus lanes include bike lanes, and there are a lot of issues with respect to the bike lanes and bicycling in that area that maybe they'll talk about. So, thank you.
Michael?
To follow up with a statement that I made last week with regard to the Brookline's Summer Eats program, I said that there was additional information. The best link to use if you are interested in participating in the Summer Eats program, which provides breakfasts and lunches Monday through Friday between now and August 14th, is to go to https:// all one word, Public Schools of Brookline School Nutrition.com. And from there, you can find a link to the Summer Eats program with all of the relevant information.
I'd also like to add that both today and tomorrow, the town is declared as a heat emergency. We do have cooling centers at multiple locations that are open. The Brookline Village Center is open from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., Coolidge Corner 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Putterham, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Specifically, these are at our public libraries. And of course, the police station basement is always available.
And related to both of those last two announcements, due to the heat emergency, the Summer Eats program will be held in the Denny room of the Public Health Building during any declared heat emergency, such as the one we've had today and tomorrow.
And then another heat emergency related announcement for those who like to enjoy the splash pads. There is a lengthy list of our parks around town that have splash pads activated. The Juniper Street splash pad's currently out of service, but almost all of the other ones are active tomorrow. Any other announcements or updates? All right, seeing none, we will move on to public comment. Melanie, if you'd like to review the rules of engagement.
Thank you for joining us for public comment. This is an opportunity for us to hear your perspective on the issues in Brookline that matter to you. Each person speaking tonight is limited to 3 minutes. You don't need to use the entire time, but you may if you like. Once 15 minutes has been met, there is an opportunity at the conclusion of the Select Board's business for additional comments. Members of the public sometimes raise questions during public comment. We may be able to provide a quick answer to a question, but are more likely to work with staff to get a more thorough answer and respond over email. The on-screen timer will flash orange when you have 60 seconds remaining and red when your time is nearly up. Please conclude your remarks at that time. If you have more to say, you are welcome to send an email to board members expressing your thoughts in greater detail. Any person wishing to speak must begin their comments by identifying themselves with their full name, either their Brookline precinct number or street address, and the specific topic on which they wish to speak. The board encourages, but does not require, that remote users turn their video on when commenting.
All right, so do we have anyone who signed up for public comments?
Nope.
Anyone in the room? See Deborah Brown's hand raised. Deborah, and then we'll go to you, Regina. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Deborah Brown. I'm a Brookline resident, and I'm also the board president for the Brookline Community Development Association. I'm here tonight to talk a little bit about expiring use and the potential impact that that can have on Brookline. Expiring use is basically privately owned property that was either through federal government or state government mechanisms became affordable for a certain period of time. Typically it was about 30 years. And the problem is some of those units are losing their affordability. And that means they could convert to market rate. We have lost some 287 units already, according to the Housing Production Plan. According to the Community Economic Development Assistance Corporation, or CEDAC, we have 10 properties on a list that could lose affordability restrictions in a total of somewhere around the neighborhood of 1,000. Don't need to take notes. I'm going to send an email soon enough. I do want to say that Chaz, the HAB, and Kara and her team are aware of this. But this is not work for the faint of heart. This is one of those areas where you really kind of need subject matter experts. And that's everything from, I don't think the CEDAC list is right, first of all. Because we would have caught the wind property change sooner. I looked at the CEDAC list. It said the property converts in 2044. That's not true. It's 2027. So that's an opportunity missed. But I will run through what I think we need a team to do, and that's identify properties at risk, engaging owners early to explore preservation options, assembling acquisition financing for nonprofit purchasing, coordinating with the state, pursuing refinancing with new affordability restrictions, using project-based vouchers or other operating subsidies if you can find them, and leveraging CPA funds and the trust and other state housing programs to support preservation. What happens if we don't do this? You know, our affordable housing inventory shrinks. We're going to displace long-term residents. We're going to displace long-term residents. there'll be greater demand on local assistance programs that the town can ill afford. There'll be reduced economic diversity. And finally, there will be additional pressures on municipal finances. So I would encourage you, my ask is that we treat this like an emergency, gather the professional resources to tackle this, not on a one-by-one basis, but look at this as in a systemic manner. Thank you very much.
All right, next we have Regina Frawley.
Thank you. Regina Frawley from South Brookline, Precinct 16. I just rise for two things. One, normally in our packets, there's a list of all the select people who are assigned to different committees in town, and I haven't found it yet. And people are asking me who's the representative on this committee or that, a couple of committees. So can we get that, and where can I find that list?
All right, we'll make sure that's made available. Do you know where is that not currently posted on our website?
So it's probably with the public packet that was posted when the board discussed the assignments, but
I had the packet, it wasn't in there.
we can put it in a more prominent space for sure.
I think the only one that was clear was Anthony Buono was going to be assigned for some particular committee, and after that, nobody else was clear. So I'd like to know, and I speak for a few people. Number two, I'm very interested in 6C, being that it's well over $2 million, and I wonder if you could discuss that when you do the miscellanea, so that you tell us what the electrification project is all about for the whole town hall. Thank you very much.
Do we have anyone else who would like to participate in public comments? Anyone in the room? Anyone online? Seeing none, we will move to our next item, which is miscellaneous. Approval of miscellaneous items, licenses, and contracts. First, let's take up 6A, the approval for meeting minutes of June 30th and June 16th. I'll move approval of the June 30th minutes as revised by Michael, and the June 16th minutes as revised by both Michael and Amanda. Bernard?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Anthony?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. All right, I will respect the request from our public commenter for some discussion on 6C. So can we get some more information on that item?
Sure. So the town hall electrification project was actually a CIP item that was discussed and debated at town meeting. There is a write-up in our current CIP, but essentially last year, the HVAC unit on the roof of this building failed. The public building department, in looking at replacing the chiller, realized that in addition to being able to replace the chiller, that we would be able to basically make the building fully electric. So the project is both to replace the chiller and then also bring the entire building so that we are fossil fuel free for town hall. I'm sorry, Melissa Goff, Deputy Town Administrator. Thank you.
All right, do select board members have any questions about any of the other items for 6B through 6J? Or comments? Seeing none, I move that we approve items 6B through 6J in omnibus fashion. Bernard?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Anthony?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. And with that, we will move to our next agenda item, boards and commissions, annual reports. And we will be having a presentation from the Indigenous Peoples Celebration Committee's annual report.
Sorry, I'm going to share a presentation, so. I Great. All set? Yeah?
Yes, go right ahead.
Perfect. My name's Kaylee Bennett. I am in Precinct 8. OCO, thank you to the Select Board for meeting with me today. As I just said, my name is Kaylee, and I am the chair of the Indigenous Peoples Celebration Committee. Our committee includes Paul McLean, Shayna Penna, Jody Leader, Catherine Florio, and David Brick. The IPCC is supported by Caitlin Starr and the Brookline Office of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Community Relations.
I have one quick question on even
Yes.
your first slide. So I'm just curious which specific Indigenous language is your name written in on that first slide?
Yes, that is the Cherokee Nation language and syllabary.
All right, thank you.
So this here is our team. And the committee is proud to plan and support new programming outside of our annual Indigenous Peoples Day celebration. And so I'm here to highlight that programming as well as anticipated events for later this year. So the first thing is our Indigenous Authors Book Club. This is a bi-monthly book club that began in January 2023. The book club specifically features Native American, Alaska Native, or First Nations authors, and not just books that are focused on Indigenous topics. At this time, we have a core group of attendees, and the event is supported by committee members Paul McLean and myself. The book club initially met quarterly, but switched to meeting bi-monthly last summer. Each book club includes a short presentation from myself about the book's themes and related historic and contemporary events. These are the books that we've read since January 2025. My personal favorites include The Buffalo Hunter and Nothing More of This Land, if you haven't read them. And so these are also all genres, including we did a romance as in our last book club. And the Brookline Booksmith also supports this book club by offering a small discount on our featured books. The book club traditionally meets on Zoom, but we are planning to host the August book club in person. So Indigenous Peoples Day, our key featured event that we do, I presented the Indigenous Peoples Day keynote for 2025 on the topic of Gadugi. This Cherokee word means working together to support your community. Keeping this value in mind, the IPCC is shaping current and upcoming programming around this idea and concept. The Brookline Indigenous Peoples Day also featured some local Indigenous vendors, Brookline town organizations, and local nonprofits, including Brookline for the Culture, Surge Boston, Jennifer Coolfridge, and Mothers Out Front. The Brookline Booksmith also joined as a vendor, selling books from the Indigenous Authors Book Club. Mothers Out Front led craft activities for kids, and Manoa Poke and Chilicates provided the food. We hosted the event this past year at the Ridley School Cafe. There was a nor'easter on Indigenous Peoples Day, and despite the poor weather, we had a great turnout, and the recording of that day is on our website for this committee. For Indigenous Peoples Day later this year, we're also planning to host it again at the Ridley School Cafe, and we are going to really shift our focus for Indigenous Peoples Day into kid-friendly education resources and craft activities, leaning into not only our location at Ridley, but also just how we want to make this event special and unique to Brookline. This year, we're looking to focus our theme around Brookline 250, so stay tuned for more details there as we finalize that planning. So one of the things our committee does is community conversations. And so a lot of our programming that we do is focused on education. So these community conversations that we have are casual, they encourage audience engagement, and also feature topics about Native American history, culture, and contemporary issues. We believe that these issues and events are critical for building community understanding that Native peoples are present and not simply a stereotype. Paul McLean and myself co-led a community conversation focused on contemporary and historical tribal sovereignty. The discussion specifically drew comparisons between the Jackson and Trump presidencies. And then in February, we revisited the same topic, but related it directly to current events regarding the United States and Greenland. As discussed during town meeting, in May, the IPCC approved new language for the Brookline land acknowledgement. This new acknowledgement made its debut at the May town meeting. These edits offer more depth and inclusion of regional tribal nations and condensed some of the ideas from the original land acknowledgement. The committee will revisit the acknowledgement every year to ensure that it remains current and contemporary. So this is just the text of that new acknowledgement, which I believe has also been updated on our website. In December, we co-hosted a reception and performance celebrating the launch of an Indigenous directory of musical storytelling. This event was co-sponsored by Brookline-based Whitesnake Projects and the Brookline Community Foundation. The event featured musical performances from Thea Hopkins, Aquino-Wampanoag, Maureen Peters, who's Mashpee Wampanoag, and Geraldine Barney, who is Navajo. And you can see the three of them there. That's in Hunneman Hall, and they all performed for this event. The reception also included food from Chicky's Kitchen, which is a Peruvian empanada company. Just this past week, the IPCC and the MLK Celebration Committee with Bernard hosted Hassanaமிsko Nipmuc scholar Jasmine Goodspeed to discuss the historical erasure of Crispus Attucks, and specifically the erasure of his Indigenous and Black Indigenous identity. The event also included a historical framework for colonization in this region, including events like King Philip's War, forced removal, and the expansion of praying towns. So looking ahead, the IPCC is wanting to do another 250 related event, possibly looking at the language of merciless Indian savages in the Declaration of Independence, possibly maybe doing that sometime in August or September. We're also looking to host the Wampanoag Singers and Dancers in October or November, as well as, of course, Indigenous Peoples Day 2026. And our most, the event that we have coming next is our August book club. I think that's all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Go ahead,
Just a
Amanda.
brief comment. Thank you for putting it in presentation form. It's a
Yeah.
little bit easier to actually follow all the good work that you're doing.
Thank you.
So I have a, oh, go ahead, Bernard.
You can go.
It's fine, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And, I did participate with the Indigenous
Yes.
Peoples Committee at, in the Crispus Attucks conversation, which is very, very important. And I hope, we talked about doing future events together, the
Yeah.
two committees, which are both designed to educate, not just celebrate, but educate the population about Indigenous people and Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Movement, and sort of, in the words that I use, sort of get rid of a lot of the mythology that is sort of called history. I think your committee is doing an incredible job with respect to that. I learned so much, to my embarrassment, that I didn't know at this conversation. But so anyway, thank you for that.
Yeah, no, Jasmine is an excellent scholar, so it was a pleasure getting to work with you. And I know that the IPCC really does want to do some of these cross collaborations with other committees like MLK, which for us, we see it as an opportunity to do more besides just Indigenous Peoples Day, that we as a committee and also as a Native person are more than just the single day of celebration.
A question that I have, so you referenced Booksmith offering books that are on your book club list for a discount. Are there any other private entities that have partnered with the Indigenous Peoples Committee, Celebration Committee, and in some related capacity?
So Whitesnake Projects is a nonprofit, but it's a local opera company. So we did partner with them on the Indigenous storytelling celebration. So that was a moment for other collaboration. I know we do want to, for Indigenous Peoples Day this year, we do want to have Turtle Books come to also be a vendor / we are wanting to do a story time for kids during Indigenous Peoples Day. So that's a very organic, natural partnership, but it's something we're looking to continue to expand.
Okay. And then also you mentioned that there was sort of a educational programming you offered around the indigenous people of Greenland. And that makes me curious about what do you see as the scope of the Indigenous Peoples Celebration Committee? Is it specific to indigenous tribes of what is today the United States, of North America, of the whole world?
Yes, so like with our book club, we really are trying to keep this in the scope of Native Americans, Alaskan Native, as well as First Nations, so into Canada. So not looking necessarily at global indigeneity, but looking at sort of the indigenous groups that are in our region more specifically. With Greenland, a little bit of an exception. We had just done, usually with the community conversations, we'll do them twice because a lot of research and effort goes into doing sort of creating a presentation. So we'll do the presentation twice, a couple months apart. We did this first one about Andrew Jackson and Donald Trump and tribal sovereignty. So the real thing we were talking about was sovereignty. And then when everything escalated at the beginning of this year with regards to Greenland, we sort of expanded that conversation to the Trump presidency, but also indigenous sovereignty as it related to this issue, because it did sort of the pieces we were discussing in the fall about Andrew Jackson and Donald Trump. I ended the presentation actually talking about Greenland, and then because that issue became more prominent, then we kind of did expand outward to just continue to sort of break apart these concepts of sovereignty. And in this case, it became a more of a national sovereignty conversation, as it also relates to Indigenous people.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? All right, well, thank you very much for coming and presenting. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up, we have boards and commissions interviews. First, we will start with some interviews of candidates for the Advisory Council on Public Health. Before we get started with that, though, it's always helpful to have a reminder how many people have applied, how many positions are available.
Give me 1 second to pull up my report.
Also, we're going to ask you for the other committees too.
Okay, there are 2 vacancies on Advisory Council of Public Health, and there is 1 person seeking reappointment.
Okay, thank you. All right, so first up, we have Vinay Kadiala. Thank you. Why don't you come up to the podium?
I can share this spreadsheet with everybody.
Do I introduce myself?
Yes, go right ahead. Introduce yourself, why you're applying, tell us about yourself.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's an honor. My name is Vinay Kadiala. I am a physician at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center, and I live in Brookline, Precinct 12. I've been living in Brookline since 2022 and have been working at BIDMC for that time. I have been involved in public policy and public health work and initiatives since I was in medical school. A lot of the work that I have done has been together with the American College of Physicians, which is the trade association for internal medicine physicians. So I work as a hospitalist or hospital medicine physician, which is basically a primary care physician who works in the hospital setting to take care of patients who've been admitted into the hospital, calling consultants, managing daily care, and then discharging. And in that role, I work a lot with the primary care physicians and the specialists, so I'm plugged into the hospital across the board. With the ACP, I have been a member of the Health and Public Policy Committee, HPPC, of the Massachusetts State Chapter, and we do a lot of activities, including our flagship event, which is our State Advocacy Day annually, usually in March, where we set up meetings with our state legislators at the Capitol in Boston. I've also been involved in the National Leadership Day, where we go to Washington, D.C. to meet with federal legislators. I've been involved with the ACP since I was in medical school in New York State. And we, in the health and public policy role, we not only meet with the legislators, but also put out position papers on various pieces of legislation that are being considered. We provide written and oral testimony. I have testified in front of the Public Health Committee on Beacon Hill, sorry. We serve as a resource for our public officials to help give our perspective as physicians on important issues that face us in our practice, and also issues that our patients face in their daily lives and in their interactions with the healthcare system. Over the last couple years, we've been heavily involved in efforts to expand access and quality of primary care services. We all know that Boston is kind of the hub of medical care in the United States, and yet even here we have massive primary care access issues, shortages of primary care physicians. So we've been trying to retain primary care physicians in the area, but also we have a large number of primary care physicians who are getting older and close to retiring. So we've been trying to work on programs to incentivize trainees, residents in internal medicine to go into primary care, which is hard because of regulatory kind of administrative burdens, paperwork burdens, issues like prior authorization from insurance companies, and frankly, payment reimbursement deficiencies. So there are several bills in front of the legislature now that are trying to address those issues that we have been advocating for. We've also worked on issues involving immigrant rights and safety. Recently, the PROTECT Act was introduced and debated, still in process, that would basically prevent immigration enforcement activities in sensitive areas such as courthouses, municipal buildings, hospitals, and would require judicial warrants for ICE and immigration authorities to carry out their enforcement activities. We've also worked on statewide vaccination efforts, particularly to try to increase vaccination rates among school-age children, trying to remove non-medical exemptions for mandatory vaccines for children to attend public schools. So just a snapshot of various initiatives that I've been involved in, and you know, I've really enjoyed the work that I've done, and I find it to be very rewarding. And I wanted to kind of give back to the community, be more involved in the town, and I believe that my experiences and my ongoing work as a physician would make me a very an effective member of the advisory council, and would love to have the opportunity to serve.
All right, thank you. Any questions from board members? Bernard.
Thank you. Excuse me. You've done a lot of work in the broader Boston area, Massachusetts area. That's very important and impressive. What ideas do you have for our advisory committee here in Brookline that you would want to emphasize beyond just the usual things of vaccination, immigrant rights, etc.?
I have attended a few of the recent meetings of the advisory council, so very much supportive of the efforts to initiate the nicotine-free generation in our town, which is to prevent people born after the year 2000 from buying tobacco products. We're working right now actually on regulation and potential prohibition of kratom products, which are completely unregulated but widely available. I'm very interested in that. And I think also community health efforts in the town. One of the things that we were talking about recently was to set up vending machines for essential public health items, sanitary products for menstruating people, and first aid equipment and medications, things like that, that people can access in public facilities like town hall or the public library. And I think, honestly, the advisory committee touches on a lot of different areas. The public health involves also housing access in towns. We focus on affordable housing, all the things that we do in town.
So a question I have for you regards your time as a rapid response supervisor at Salem Hospital, and you won an award for it.
Yes.
And I'm just curious, what did you take from that experience that you might want to bring to this position?
I guess I should start by, does everyone understand what the term rapid response means in the hospital setting?
Well, assume that we do, but our vast TV audience may not.
So a rapid response in a hospital setting is when a patient becomes concerningly unstable, low blood pressure, really fast heart rate, sudden chest pain, anything that would require quick, rapid evaluation and potentially getting the intensive care unit involved, the ICU. So one of my responsibilities when I was working at Salem Hospital, my first job out of residency, was to supervise the residents who were primarily tasked with responding to these events. We would go, and then we would determine, first of all, what we needed to do right away in terms of administering medications or bringing the ICU team down to evaluate to see if we needed to transfer, getting quick imaging, whatever it was, but and making sure that ultimately the patient was given the appropriate care quickly. What I took away from that was the importance of working as a team and maintaining clear and open conversation, which meant not just me kind of instructing the residents, but allowing the residents and the nurses who are involved in the care to voice their thoughts on what was happening and to have mechanisms for bidirectional communication and feedback afterward. We would debrief at the end, make sure we would express what we did well and what we thought was we could do better. I think that framework, I think, would translate well onto the advisory council about kind of communicating openly about issues and being able to resolve conflicts in a productive way.
Anyone else? Michael?
Thank you very much for your application. I'm curious about your perspective working in a hospital and understanding how the work that you do in hospitals either will support or conflict with the concerns that are addressed through public health advocates.
Do you have a specific example in mind?
No, I'm wondering if there are situations within your work at the hospital where sort of public health issues come to the fore that could reasonably be brought to the local level.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So when I take care of patients in the hospital, I'm managing everything about their hospital stay, from medications to what specialists are involved, to even a large part of what we do is discharge planning, which is actually a multidisciplinary effort that involves case managers, social workers, nurses, physical therapy, occupational therapy. Basically, we figure out what our patient's living situation is and whether that person can go back home safely once they've received their medical treatment and have improved, and what we can do to make them safer at home. And sometimes that involves setting up home services. I recently took care of someone who had extreme food insecurity, had lost a lot of weight, was very malnourished and underweight. And that's one of the things that I think translates very well to the community level, ensuring that people are having their basic everyday needs met. And we do that. We really do think about what patients need at home, and if they can go home, what we can do to optimize their ability to continue living at home versus do they need to go to a nursing facility, that kind of thing. It's a daily conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you very much for your interview.
Thank you.
We'll likely make a decision in the coming weeks once we hear from the other candidates.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Cameron Ashrafzadeh.
Hello, I'm Cameron Ashrafzadeh. I live in Precinct 1, and yeah, I am definitely not as qualified as the man who spoke before me, but I'm a clinical research coordinator. I work at Joslin Diabetes Center, and yeah, I've always viewed the community as where the change we want to see in the world kind of starts. And so growing up in a family of physicians and seeing how medicine impacts different communities has always been something I've been exposed to. And so working with a community that's so impacted by public health, I've seen that, and I would like to be involved with the advisory on Public Health Committee and work with them to try and address some of the public health issues that face the community here in Brookline. And, yeah.
All right. Any questions? Go ahead, Michael.
So I guess I'll start with a question that would either come up now or later. You've applied to be on 2 commissions, and I'm wondering whether you have a preference between the 2, or how you sort of compare your interests between the 2 commissions.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have a preference between the 2. They're both kind of aspects that have really been of interest to me kind of throughout my life. I've always been drawn to medicine, and so I've always had the familial connection there as well and been interested in that. And so that is kind of the basis of why I'm interested in public health, and especially having seen its impact. But in terms of the Conservation Commission, I became very interested in conservation and ecology in college and took a lot of classes on it. And so that's why I really applied to the 2, because there are 2 items that have really stood out to me, especially lately, and things I'd like to pursue.
Okay. Thank you.
A question I have for you, you mentioned in your application that you grew up around the phrase "an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure." Can you talk about how you would want to sort of actuate that saying through your work on the Public Health Advisory Committee?
Yeah, I think a lot of that really comes down to emphasizing screening for chronic diseases. I think what's very important is catching these diseases early so that you can treat them and manage them within patients. And so on a broader scale, if we can help the community design programs that allow more people to get checked for chronic diseases, check their blood pressure, their blood sugar levels, these different chronic diseases will give people a better opportunity to get earlier treatment, earlier care, and help improve health. And I think that a lot of the preventive measures that have been supported by the council, such as the Be Well initiative, is important, but I think there's also an ability to do more.
Bernard?
Yeah, you work with Jocelyn Diabetes, is it Center or?
Center, yeah.
Center. And diabetes lends itself to public health sort of initiatives. Do you have any ideas that ideas for the council to work on that we're not working on now with respect to diabetes care and other chronic diseases like that? I mean, you mentioned, for example, checking for blood sugar and other things that can be done at a local level. Are there any other questions or ideas you have?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to screening for the disease and its complications, and improving like awareness and education around it. And yeah, so I think it's really kind of.
I mean, how could the advisory council sort of contribute to that?
I think it's just using or pushing forward initiatives that make it more accessible. And I think if we can increase the access to the screening measures, then and make it easier to screen, it might be better. Sorry.
Anyone else?
I'll
Amanda?
just ask a general. So why now? Why are you sort of, for lack of a better term, inspired to get involved in one of the committees that you're applying for?
Yeah, so I've been in Brookline now for the past 2 years, and then I went to BU before that. So I've been around the area for about 6 years, and kind of becoming part of the community and seeing its impact on me. I want to also try and help improve the community around me, so I can get involved.
All right, thank you. All right. So thank you again for your interview, and we will get back to you at some point in the future after we've interviewed all the candidates.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Soliana Hennock.
She's online.
Hello.
Feel free to turn on your camera if you can. You're not obligated to.
Sorry, my connection is horrible when I turn on my camera, so I usually keep it off.
That's all right. So start whenever you're ready.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Soliana Hennock. I'm a rising 9th grader, and I live in Precinct 17. I'm honestly so excited today to be here because public health is something that my friends and I live through every single day. Whether we're living or dealing with stress, mental health, or seeing vaping trends around town. I might not have a medical degree yet, but I do have a front row seat to what Brookline Youth is actually experiencing. I'm incredibly eager to learn from all of you, bring a fresh student perspective to the table, and help make our community a healthier place for everyone. Thank you.
All right, any questions for Soliana? Michael?
So first of all, thank you also for your application and your interest in getting involved. I'm wondering if you can speak to any more detail or specificity in terms of the ways in which the Public Health Council can specifically engage on these questions of youth mental health or the other challenges to which you have the front row seat.
Before I can talk about a sort of solution, I would like to talk about a specific problem I see a lot of, and it's when it comes to vaping, smoking, drug abuse, and even sexual harassment. A lot of Brookline youth treat these serious dangers as a joke or see them as something completely distant from their own lives. And if you were to talk to one of my friends or peers at school about substance abuse, their common reaction would be to laugh it off or say that would never happen to me. I believe it is because they see these issues in movies or extreme scenarios that only happen somewhere else. And because of that, standard health awareness campaigns feel boring and totally disconnected from their daily reality. And off the top of my head, I suppose I have a goal, which is to stop talking at students or teenagers and to start talking with them. Because if we want teenagers to take these issues seriously, we have to change both who is delivering the message and how it is being delivered. That is just my opinion.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? So a question I have for you, I see that you have worked on a capstone project advocating for a right to counsel for residents in civil eviction cases. Can you talk a little bit about how that might inform your activities on the Advisory Council on Public Health?
I suppose some of the things that I've learned from my research and presenting it to people could contribute to what I can provide on the council. It has certainly increased my knowledge on the struggles that people who are impoverished face. It also has improved my ability to present and, I guess, invoke a sort of feeling of pathos from an audience, including my actual peers. I managed to convince my friends to actually feel remorse and want to dedicate time to helping these people who are facing eviction unfairly.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? All right, well, as I've said to the other two candidates, we'll make our decision at a later date once we've interviewed everyone. Thank you very much, and you'll hear from us soon.
Thank you. Have a nice day, all of you guys.
Thank you. All right, next we will move to interviews for the naming committee. And
Excuse me, David, just before we go on, I just want to confirm, there was a fourth candidate in the packet. Is that person been rescheduled or pulled?
She was not able to make it. We put her on for the 28th.
all right, so now we'll move on to the naming committee. Robert Moran.
I did share this spreadsheet in the OneDrive with everybody, so, but there is currently one vacancy.
And how many candidates?
Just this one.
Good evening. My name's Robert Moran. I live in Precinct 11, and I've been a resident of Brookline for over 30 years. And ever since I was a child, I've had an interest in history. And when I saw the opportunity to serve on the naming committee, I thought this would fit my interest well. And I can tell you I can bring a collaborative effort. I'm a commercial real estate attorney, and I'm used to working with other people in order to get things done and to listen to other people. So that's one of the things I can bring to the naming committee. And I'm studious, and I'd be prepared. And I think I would present a different view. My opinions might be a little different than some other people's in the town. My politics would be more to the right of center. So I would give I would give some diversity to the board. And I think it's important that we name facilities after people that are historically significant. And as the general criteria for the Brookline Naming Committee, I think is excellent. When I wrote my little presentation, I hadn't read, frankly, the Brookline Naming Committee, their criteria, and I agree with that criteria, and I think I would be an asset to the committee. And thank you for the opportunity.
All right, any questions? So one question I have, when you describe yourself as right of center, how do you feel that would manifest in terms of your role with selecting names or considering names?
In considering names, I would take into consideration all factors, but I think coming from the right of center, I might have a different perspective, and that's all I can say. I don't have any agenda. I'm not here to say, well, let's name everything for Ronald Reagan or something. I don't have any preconceived notions. Do I have someone I think who is missing in Brookline? Quite frankly, Henry Hobson Richardson. He's the most famous American architect maybe of ever, certainly of the 19th century. He didn't just live, he lived, he worked, he died, and he's buried right here in Brookline. He collaborated with Frederick Law Olmsted, the founder of landscape architecture, and he's forgotten. I mean, you might look at Trinity Church in Copley Square, and someone might mention it's Richardson Romanesque. But I don't think we should forget people from history, particularly someone with connections to Brookline.
Okay. Bernard?
In your application, you talk about, as you're talking about now, naming buildings or other things after people with a connection to Brookline, even if they are nationally significant. Are you suggesting that the current mission statement be changed because it does allow national noteworthy public figures or officials?
I would say that I don't have a problem with national noteworthy public officials, but I think it's important to have a connection to Brookline. But I wouldn't rule out naming something for a nationally noteworthy public person.
Anyone else? All right, well, thank you very much for your interview, and we'll get back to you once we've interviewed all candidates. We do consider applications on a rolling basis. It's something that we're likely going to move away from because that does create, in my opinion at least, too much of an open-ended application process. But in the meantime, it's not closed yet, applications, so we will get back to you.
Thank you again.
All right, so now we will move on to interviews for candidates for the Conservation Commission. And welcome back, Chairman Ashrafzadeh.
So there's currently one vacancy. There will be one pending because the chair is resigning when a replacement is appointed. We do have 4 applicants total for the 2 potential vacancies.
All right.
Hello again. So I'm also applying to the Conservation Commission. In college, I took a lot of courses on conservation and ecology because it's something that really interested me. And so I think in Brookline, one of the things that really stands out is the parks around the town and the green space, which really sets Brookline apart from pretty much anywhere I've seen. And I think that a lot has been done that's really incredible, such as the Studios Without Walls. And at the same time, I think the ecological purpose of the wetlands and the Emerald Necklace and the parks is also very important. So, I'm applying for the commission because I'm interested in it, and I'd like to learn a lot more and help serve the community.
All right, any questions? Michael?
I'm curious as to whether there's any particular aspect of the charge of the commission that you are interested in sort of diving into in particular.
Yeah. So I'm very interested in the work to try and protect the wetlands. I mean, the wetlands are very important for carbon sequestration, and so I think that's an important ecological role, and so I think that's very exciting. But I think also kind of blending that with the recreational use of the lands is also important, so I'm excited to work with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Amanda?
You touched on something that I've raised with other potential appointees to this commission, which is applicants. There you go. Which is how do you think about sort of expanding access to conservation lands and balancing recreation with the needs to keep the environmental landscape as it is, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a balancing act, and I think you kind of have to toe the line a little bit, kind of as we do now. I mean, if you look at the Muddy River, there's the walkway there. A lot of the parkland has areas where people can go, but it also serves the kind of ecological function that it's supposed to. And so I think that is important. The work to replant kind of the wetland flora is very important, and I think it's kind of managing it to make sure that both services are kind of being cared for. Sorry.
Have you attended any of the meetings of the Conservation Commission, and what do you think about what they do?
I unfortunately have not had a chance to. It's been a very crazy June and May for me, but I'm hoping to go to them even if I don't get the appointment. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So we'll get back to you once we've considered all the applicants.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we will move toward our next agenda item, which is the discussion of dissolution of a list of public bodies. And that list is other post-employment benefits, although we may need to hold off on that, as that's a requirement when we look to set up an OPEB trust. So that needs to stay active for some period of time, and the committee would meet once a year for that purpose. So we can't quite move yet on that one, but it was on our list as we discussed at our workshop. Also on the list, Expenditures and Revenue Study Committee, Tree Protection Committee, Climate Action Committee, Vision Zero Committee, CIMS Oversight Committee, with a potential merge into a new committee, Surveillance Technology and Military Type Equipment Committee, and Information Technology Advisory Committee. And those last two are also possibly to be merged into a new committee. So any discussion on removing these? Michael?
I just want to make sure it's clear the Tree Protection Committee's work is intended to be folded into another committee. Is that right? Was this one of those?
I believe
where
there
we
was
were merging?
overlap with the tree planting committee, and there was
Right.
confusion about why there were dual committees that seemed to serve a purpose, and we agreed that the tree planting committee needed to stay in place. It's one of the oldest committees that we have. I
Right.
think it might be the oldest in the Commonwealth as well. And that the tree protection had served a specific purpose that has now been fulfilled.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
Excuse me. I received a comment from Amy Hummel. I don't know if she circulated it to other people, but she emphasizes with respect to the Surveillance Technology and Military Type Equipment Committee, which she and I sat on, that it's very important that the committee that replaces the three that you mentioned include people who have really a high level of technical expertise, because these issues are very, very difficult. And not only technical expertise, but just an understanding of the balance that has to be made between safety and privacy. Many times safety and privacy are seen as in conflict, but in fact, they have to go together, as we saw during the COVID outbreak, when failure to provide privacy to people's information undermined their willingness to participate in working with the community to ensure safety of people, from COVID. So, I think she's right on this. That this whatever replaces this committee should include, you know, highly competent people from a technical standpoint, but also people who have thought about, you know, that relationship between privacy and safety. So,
All right.
and that comes up all the time.
I understand that we have a member of the CIMS committee in attendance, Ian Pallenbaum. Love to hear from you, your thoughts about potential dissolution.
Hey, good evening. Ian Pallenbaum, I live in Precinct 6. I'll make clear I'm speaking only for myself and as an individual member of the committee, not for the committee or its chair or anybody else. I have an outline, but I'll truncate it. I assure you I'm not planning a filibuster to try to keep the committee alive. I personally have no problem with the demise of the camera committee. We haven't met since 2024, and nobody seems to miss us particularly. And I don't think it's because we're so forgettable or the issue is forgettable. I just think there's really no need at this point with all these complicated issues of privacy versus safety, privacy versus evidence. There's no need to devote a separate committee to 11 cameras on poles at busy intersections. When we were on the committee, we made basically 2 recommendations that were adopted. One was to extend the retention period for the video to 30 days so it would comply with state law. And the other was to keep the cameras on 24/7, which kind of happened by default after the shrouds that were supposed to cover them during the day became obsolete. Otherwise, every meeting we basically learned there were X number of requests for video for either criminal or traffic or civil investigations, that it helped in some cases, didn't help in others, but there's no instance where it hurt. And that's important as you go forward and consider merging this topic into another committee, is that I think I was on the committee from about 2012, which was a couple of years after it started. And you may recall that the cameras themselves really became kind of an easy target and a symbolic target and symbolic of the issue. Because there were concerns. There are these cameras, and what are they going to be used for? And in those 16 years or so since they've been up, there hasn't been even a single concrete allegation that anybody misused them. Now, other types of intrusive powers that the government has, which I'm familiar with as a prosecutor, have much greater potential for misuse and much greater immediate need for guardrails and regulation and ethical handling. But I just hope that as you go forward and merge it, that you keep in mind kind of the practical considerations. And that if you dissolve this committee, it's because it's not needed and not because there was a perception that maybe we weren't anti-camera enough, because all we did was make a couple of recommendations that really reinforced the system. Committee had 2 criminal defense attorneys on it, a third guy who worked closely with a criminal defense attorney, had me, a prosecutor who now handles mostly law enforcement misconduct cases, so we're hardly in the tank for anybody. I'm also somebody who was quite attuned to the privacy issues, both from my job and from having a father who had a long and inaccurate FBI file, at least the parts that you could read that weren't redacted. But I've always been distressed when kind of a reaction and ideology overcomes the practical considerations. You saw it with kind of the back and forth and the initial compromise where people said, let's abolish these cameras completely. Then there was a rape that was solved with the help of footage, and it kind of swung back. And again, the argument became symbolic rather than practical. It seems very unlikely in Brookline that you'll have a shot spotter debate, which is a good thing given what's been happening in Cambridge lately. But again, Bernard, I think you, and by the way, Mr. Green, I think overall, the main thing I wanted to do was to thank the select board for asking me to do this over the last decade. Although, Mr. Green, I think you're the only one who's really to blame for my being on it. Because everybody else came on the board afterwards. But thanks. And if, when you form a committee, you ever ask me to serve and pontificate about this stuff again, I assure you that it'll be well worth what you pay me. Thanks.
I was actually about to bring that up because given the depth of your experience in this and also how you scour our agendas apparently and became aware that we would be discussing this and decided to come in and speak to us about your experience with it, that's very much appreciated. And certainly as what we're really looking to do here is not dissolution per se, but more of a merger. We have a long list of committees and boards in town, and some of them deal with overlapping matters. And from a public perspective, sort of the average resident might not always be able to tell what fits into which group and why we have 3 groups dealing with X issue and none dealing with Y issue. So we're trying to clean that up a little bit, and that's one of the goals of this process. So I don't want you to feel that the work you put into this committee was all for naught, or that we don't value it, or that we're not going to be considering related issues in the future. Actually, we are. Anthony Buono is not with us in person today, is sort of the designated chair for this new committee that will form, that will be a merger of CIMS oversight, surveillance technology and military type equipment, and information technology advisory committee. And as a specific charge is built for that and a decision made about how many members, certainly your application would be very welcome.
Okay, thank you. I did get a tip-off in an email from your administrator, so.
Okay.
It wasn't, I didn't do any scouring. Appreciate it, thanks.
Thank you. All right, any other discussion?
Just an administrative question. I did notice the Climate Action Committee that's listed here. I looked on the website just now for like its archive and didn't find it, and it looks like it's actually already dissolved as the part of the creation of ZAB. So I'm wondering if there was something we missed in terms of why it's being called up again for dissolution.
I'm not sure why it's on the list, but it doesn't hurt to vote it, to dissolve it again, I guess.
And I just had one point on the Vision Zero Committee, which I generally agree can be dissolved, but I do want to make sure that we're getting follow-up on the condition of appropriation, especially the working group to actually address Vision Zero. So
Right,
just flagging that again as we don't need this committee ongoing if we are moving forward on Vision Zero.
Yeah, I know DPW's been working on a new process and engaging with the Transportation Board to meet the condition of appropriations.
Right, just to reiterate for the public, we're not necessarily eliminating any of the important work that took place in these committees. We are disbanding committees that have already completed their work, combining committees where a merger makes sense thematically. And it's more part of a general reorganization, not so much an elimination. For example, Expenditures and Revenue Study Committee, that was formed in the lead up to the override. They've made certain recommendations. We're certainly going to take those recommendations seriously and have a process in place by which we try to implement them. But the specific work that the members of that committee engaged in has been completed, hence why we will vote shortly to dissolve it.
One more point.
Amanda.
Along those lines, I do think the committee itself, the RSC committee, had some recommendations of the next iteration of this that happens that might be helpful to integrate if and when we do form a next iteration of that committee in the future. And I'm not sure exactly how to keep that for the future charge, but at least their recommendations should go into the next time we're discussing as a select board creating a similar committee.
Okay. Yeah. I think we also talked about a lot of that work maybe being done by the town school partnership as well.
Yeah, no, I think it was more just the
the comments on setting up the committee to begin with.
Oh, just the overall kind of premise and.
Yeah,
or
and
plan
the charge
everything.
and how to actually set it up to be successful in future.
Yep.
All right, so on that note, I move that we dissolve the public bodies listed under 10A with the exception of OPEB. Bernard?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Anthony? All right, and I also vote yes. All right, with that, we will move to 2026 special town meeting dates. Question of setting the dates for the 2026 special town meeting.
So in your packet, you have the proposed schedule for town meeting. We are looking to have a warrant opening date of August 6th, which is a Thursday, and a warrant close date, which is September 3rd, which is also a Thursday. Then you count 75 days from that date, and you have your town meeting date. That brings us to November 17th for the first night of town meeting. We are looking to hold placeholders for additional meetings on the 18th and 19th. Then we skip the week of Thanksgiving, and we're looking at reserving December 1, 2, and 3, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, if needed. We've coordinated with the town clerk and the moderator. Those dates work for them. And we've also reserved the dates at the high school as well.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move approval of the setting of the dates for the 2026 special town meeting as just outlined.
Yes.
Bernard votes yes. Michael?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Anthony? You're muted in case you're trying to vote.
I am, yes.
Okay. And if you'd like a chance to vote on our previous one, I'll give you that. Do you also want to vote to dissolve all of the public bodies minus OPEB?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And I also vote yes, moving back to the dates for the 2026 special town meeting. All right. With that, we will move to our next item, which is reappointments. Question of reappointing the following members to the Brookline Commission for Women. I would suggest that 2 of these members be moved for appointment to 3-year terms and one of them to a 1-year term. This is at the request of the chair of the Brookline Commission for Women, and I'm inclined to respect her suggestions. So I would like to, any further discussion? All right, so I would like to move that we appoint to 3-year terms Eileen Lee and Melissa Mukin. Bernard?
Yes.
Do we want to give the start and end dates of those terms, or do we know what they are? Or can we just say
September
three?
1st,
Three.
right?
Is it September 1st?
Yeah.
No. The Brookline Commission on Women expiration dates are 6/30/26.
Okay, so
So it would be
starting.
for July 1st would be the start
Starting
date
July 1.
through June 30 of 3 years from now.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So Bernard voted yes. Michael?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Anthony?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. And I move that we appoint Julia Kazan for a 1-year appointment. Bernard?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Anthony?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. So our next item relates to the September 1st, 2026 state primary. Question of executing the warrant for the September 1st state primary.
Is that a Tuesday? Because we have a meeting, I thought it was September 1st, maybe it's 2nd.
It is a Tuesday.
Okay, so that clashes with the meeting that is posted on the website.
We can always change that. It
Okay,
hasn't-
yeah,
the
well, I'm
agenda-
suggesting that we change it, okay?
The agenda hasn't been posted or anything.
Okay.
Okay.
So you were suggesting that we not meet on election day?
Yeah, that's usually the practice. It's-
Seems reasonable.
You're talking about September 1st.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, why do you think it's a potential conflict for select board to meet?
I saw it on the website.
Primary? Okay.
I mean, it's listed there as a meeting. Let me see if I can find it.
Well, the issue of whether we have a select board meeting or not on September 1st can be addressed
Yeah.
later. But for purposes of this particular vote and executing the warrant, so something that I'm curious about, how is it up to us to decide when a state primary occurs?
I'd have to ask for a reference to a law that gives it to you as your authority, but I believe that's why the request is coming to you from the town clerk. I think you need to set the dates, just like you set the dates for the warrant, you set the dates for the elections as well.
All right. Okay, well, I certainly would like us to match the rest of the state, and I think we probably would have to anyway. So I move that we execute the warrant for the September 1st state primary. Bernard?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Anthony?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. Next item, 13B, question of establishing early voting hours for the September 1st, 2026 state primary. And do we have what those early voting hours will be?
Yes, I believe that they are Saturday, August 22nd from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Sunday, August 23rd from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Those are early voting at the Putterham Library and the Coolidge Corner Library. And then we also have additional early voting for the state primary at Town Hall, which would be Saturday, August 22nd from 10 to 4, Sunday the 23rd, same 10 to 4, Monday the 24th, 8 to 5, Tuesday, August 25th, 8 to 5, Wednesday, August 26th, 8 to 5, Thursday the 27th, same 8 to 5, and then Friday the 28th of August, 8 to 12:30, and that is Town Hall early voting hours.
All right, thank you. Amanda?
I just have a question. Do you know if they are still recruiting election volunteers for that primary? And if so, how might someone apply?
I would refer any interested parties in participating in elections to the town clerk, and I'm sure that he would welcome any willing and able recruits.
Thank you.
All right, so with that, I move approval of establishing early voting hours for the September 1st state primary as just laid out. Bernard?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Anthony?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. And now our last agenda item, question of assigning police details for the September 1st, 2026 state primary. I'll go ahead and just move this outright. All right, sorry, go ahead, Michael.
I'm sorry, I have just one clarification. For the officers that are assigned during early voting hours, I just want to be clear that the officers assigned during Putterham Library and Coolidge Corner are only for the early voting hours at those sites, as opposed to all hours of early voting, as it says in the letter. In the strict reading of the letter, all hours of early voting would include all of the hours that are at Town Hall, but not Putterham Library and Coolidge Corner, and I assume we are not assigning officers for those other sites if there's no early voting taking place at those sites.
Yeah, I think you can clarify that in your vote, that it is specific to the assignment at the Putterham Library and Coolidge Corner Library, and not the town hall.
Okay.
Yep, the assignments are specific to the one officer at this particular site.
Right.
All right, so I move that we assign police details for the September 1st, 2026 state primary as described as specific to the particular sites as outlined in the letter.
Yes.
Bernard? Michael?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Anthony?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. With that, would anyone like to participate in some more public comment? Nobody in the room? Anybody online? Then we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
David, thank you for an 8 o'clock adjournment.
Oh.
Or not,
I
not
maintain my
adjournment,
record
ending
of
of the
early
meeting.
meetings, I love it.